Hi there, all power towers around the world, and welcome to yet another session of SkypeDates. And usually we are a bigger group when we end than when we start. And today's topic is morning rituals and routines and habits. And I'm very grateful for seeing many of you here, usually the ones present here now are the ones who are usually present, and this is really uplifting for all of us because this allows us to have these sessions. And by participating in them, we're not only contributing to our inner journeys, we're not only expanding ourselves, but we're helping each other expand as well. And a brief introduction of me. My name is Alka, and I am the founder of my company Glad Sherpa. You will commonly know me as Alka Caramel Chocolate. And as always, chocolate doesn't ask silly questions. Anyways, the mission of my company is to guide you to connect with your innate powers and reach your highest potentials. So these sessions are not about me, these are all about you. And it's important that if you have any questions, you're sharing them. Either you are texting them in, or you are unmuting yourself and asking the questions, because the discussions are very important. And these sessions, as I'm just sharing, are interactive. So I appreciate that you share your comments, you unmute when you need to, and share your questions or your queries. The intention with this is that watching and reading videos on our own, listening to these on our own, are actually not so much contributing to our expansion. Yes, we're gaining a lot of knowledge, but it's when we discuss these issues that we actually gain a deeper understanding of the material and gain deeper experience of it, and gradually more wisdom around it. So the sessions are recorded, the former ones and the present one as well, and they're shared on my YouTube channel, which is Alka Caramel Chocolate, or Alka Glad Sherpa now. And in no way do these sessions replace medical therapies or consultations. They're simply arenas traditionally empower you from within, and to connect you with like-minded people. Now, I was preparing my workshop in Oslo, which is this weekend, and I was preparing an introduction for it and doing some research on depressions. And I then understood, sort of, I know why I conduct these sessions and these workshops, and why I do much of my work free of charge, because I wish to help fellow humans combat depressions or any lower feelings which are going to ultimately lead us into depressions. And in that context, I can actually be quite strict. I can seem harsh, but my only intention is to pull you out, because the lower you go in on the EGS, the emotional guidance scale, the more difficult it is to find your way back up. So it's always the best thing to fight yourself, find your path through whatever you're going through in your life, whatever challenges there are. And I read that WHO has estimated that depression is now the #1 cause to disease in the world population. The #1 reason to sick leaves, to people falling out of work, not being able to continue their lives, and whatever is needed for that. So depression is a growing problem, and that's because we are not processing our emotions and guiding them in the right way, because we don't know this. And the access to therapists is very limited. And as the situation in Norway is that only those going through a serious depression actually get to talk to a therapist. Otherwise, you're guided to use other techniques, which you can read about on websites, etc. So behind conducting these kind of sessions or these workshops to help people empower themselves from within, because the solution, whether you're taking medication for your depressions, whether you are going for consultations, ultimately it is your thinking that must change. Your mindset has to change for you to act better. Your medication will never bring that to you. Your therapist will not be able to for you. Your energy that's in the process. So that's why I offer these sessions, but they do not, again, in any way replace medical therapy or consultations. And most importantly, by agreeing to participate here these Skype dates, you're all giving permission to video record it and post it online at any time in future. And you members know who I have to thank for that, because you've also been guiding me through this process. So let's start with our breathing. The breathing session is actually just to align us with the present session. When we neutralize our state of mind, no matter where we're coming from, whether we're stressed or we're angry or any of the low emotions, when we do this breathing exercise, we're going to take 10 deep breaths. When we do this, we align ourselves with present session, and what's being shared here will resonate more powerfully with you, because what resonate with you will always be depending on the mood you're in. So by doing this now, we're going to neutralize, we're going to bring ourselves to a more basic level of thinking, more, ourselves down. So let's start with the 10 deep breaths. We'll close our eyes and we'll find a comfortable seating. And you take 10 deep breaths. A deep inhale, and let the breath reach right down to your tailbone, and you exhale deeply. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling deeply and exhaling deeply. Deep inhale, followed by deep exhale. Deep inhale and a deep exhale. Another deep inhale and a deep exhale. And the last one. Deep inhale and a deep exhale. Before we open eyes, we're going to give ourselves a big hand. And this is a big hand to me for being here and to you for being here. So we're celebrating our participation here. And this I learned recently was a very powerful exercise that we need to celebrate. And celebrating every achievement is very important for our psyche. And so we open our eyes. and jump into today's agenda, which will be a short and brief repetition we went through last time, which was awareness and clarity. And today's topic is morning rituals, routines, and habits. And I'm going to get you all juiced up for your mornings because these are very important. And they set the tone for your entire day. And then we'll have a question and answers and a brief discussion. And that's where you all contribute, right? I'm seeing messages coming in and it's lovely reading them. I'm not sure yes, let's see. I'll post this one first. Yes, I have a hi and I have a yes. Lovely that I'm on board reading those messages as well. And so previous session, awareness and clarity, you find the videos on YouTube. On my channel there. And what is awareness? Awareness is our focus, of our attention, of our perception at any given time. It's as if using a microscope into a situation or into a moment of time, as if you're using a torch. It will allow you to see whatever the torch, the light from the torch is falling upon, will allow you to see that better, right? So that's our awareness. And why do we need awareness? Because awareness brings clarity. And the more clarity we have, the more we are able to take action aligned with our desires, with our wishes. And energy goes where focus goes. We went through this last time. And those who need to go deeper into it, you have the videos on YouTube. And what is meditation? Meditation is awareness of your awareness. How do we gain more awareness? You can practice. Just a second. I think I need to. The new members need to mute their mics because we're getting disturbance here. I'm not sure who this is. Yes. Yes. How do we gain more awareness, some clarity? One way is by unmuting your senses, because and growing up and being programmed, we've learned to mute our senses. We've learned to filter away sounds, filter away things we see, smells we may notice, or feelings otherwise. And all of this contributes to less awareness. So by unmuting, by sharpening your senses, by trying to listen, like at night, I'll often lay down and try to listen to all the sounds which I actually have muted otherwise, right? And that's one way of sharpening your hearing sense. Or when you're looking at something, like just sitting for a few seconds, you don't even need more time. Just look at something. You can have questions that are triggering greater awareness. You can use meditations, right? These are techniques to gain clarity and awareness. That was a short recap of our previous session. So let's jump into our morning rituals, routines, and habits. And I must admit that this has to be one of my most favorite topics. Because morning time is really the most precious time for me. And it has always been like that for me. I love waking up early, and the earlier I get up, the happier I am almost, provided I've had enough sleep. And for me, always, and in Norwegian, we have a saying that goes, morning moments are gold in your mouth, right? It sounds very odd translating it, but the essence is that morning moments are the most precious and they're yours, right? And I really, really love these moments of mine. So I always try making them as precious as possible. And I usually don't allow disturbances, although things happen. We're all living lives and we're living with humans and among humans. We have relationships. So, yes, disturbances do happen. And what actually encouraged me to choose this topic, and I shared it here in the group so that some of you can prepare for it. And I hope you got the chance to give it some thought and use some time thinking about it, because then you can ask me questions. And the reason I was encouraged more to talk about this topic was this picture I found on Instagram, and it says 5 years from now, and it's shared in the group. But for those who will be watching the video, I'll just read it out. 5 years from now, show me your habits, and I can tell you where you will be 5 years from now. The choices you make, the books you read, the food you eat, the people you spend time with, and the habits you adopt will determine your future. And morning habits, morning rituals, morning routines will determine where you are 5 years from now, right? So investing in your morning rituals and routines is very, very wise. So let's just jump into it. What are morning rituals, routines, and habits? Rituals or routines are patterns and practices of behavior which you are regularly performing. Morning rituals these are our own practices, our own patterns, which we are using in the first few hours after we've woken up. These set the tone for your entire day, and hence they become very important because you can imagine if the first thing you do in the morning is check your social media and someone has tossed you a nasty comment, you can then guess how your day is going to be, because you're going to probably get upset by that comment. You're going to post another one in response to that. And that kind of sets the tone for your day, right? And things just start getting messed up even before you've stepped out of your bed. So examples to how we, lacking awareness, choose to start our mornings is we'll check our messages. We have our phones, our smartphones by our bedside, and we'll check the messages, we'll check the emails, we'll jump over to the social media, we'll start reading newspapers, or we'll start reading books, and some will do prayers. And depending on which rituals you're choosing, which routines, which habits you're choosing, will determine your emotional state for the rest of the day. So why do we need, or why do we have these rituals and habits? One, they set the tone for the day. Secondly, they determine the emotional state for that day. And I'll give you examples to this because as I've shared in my workshops on WhatsApp as well, most of what I learned on my own and through experience. And it was very challenging because I didn't have anyone to guide me in this metaphysical world. And I only had my books. And I used to listen to a lot of audios, a lot of audiobooks. And with experience, I had to find solutions to maintain my happy mood, to maintain being in the higher scale of the emotional guidance scale. So we'll look into the activities and how they can determine your emotional state. And usually what happens is we're using the default settings, the default programming we have, and we'll instantly pick up a phone, right? What happened in 2008 was when I entered my dark night of the soul. And it was a very challenging period in my life. And I had just stepped out of my marriage. And I had a 5-year-old I had to take care of. And I knew that to be able to give him the best life possible, I needed to be in the right frame of mind, have the right mindset. And gradually, started listening to Neil Donald Walsh's books, Conversations with God. I listened to my Dooley's programs, his books. And what happened is that in 2008, when I was going through all of this, I didn't like to be disturbed at night. And I'd usually get some nasty calls from people I knew, and because they were in heavy depressions or challenged in life or whatever it be, they'd call me up late at night and disturb me. And I'd always answer the calls. But gradually, I learned that the best solution for me is not receiving that call. So what I did is I went into my iPhone settings, and I've understood that I think you can only do this on iPhones, which is a plus for the iPhones. And I went into the no disturbances, and I set the time that after 9 and I think right up to 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll only be receiving calls from those who are listed in my favorites, among my favorites. So some calls were happily screened away. And that was a huge blessing for me. And additional calls weren't coming through either. So I wasn't available for people 24/7, because as I went deeper into the metaphysical world and I started sharing what I was learning, the techniques and everything, people wished to connect with me. And usually it was late at night when people would get time. And at that time, I had to attend to my life, my son, and get my sleep as well. So that was one way I screened those calls away. And um, another thing I learned was to put my phone on silent mode. Because every time a message was delivered or a call came in, if it wasn't on silent, I'd be disturbed throughout the night. And in 2014, I was going through a turbulent relationship, and this was a person in a different time zone. And each time a message was delivered, I'd be notified and I'd be disturbed. And as soon as I'd wake up, I'd check my phone. And because this was in a time zone that was ahead of us, I'd usually have received a lot of messages. And if these were disturbing messages, that would ruin my morning. It would ruin my entire day, right? And this for me was a horrible experience. And that's when I started switching the internet off on my phone before I went to bed, and only switching it on when I am ready to practice my gratitude. And this is something I've held on to, and I think it has been one of the greatest blessings I have brought into my life. So, how do we create an empowering morning ritual or routine? And I made, I was sitting and listing everything I needed to mention in this session here. And I had to create a stepwise list to make this easy for all of you out there. And you must remember at all times that you are power tellers. There's a lot of power. There is power beyond imagination within you, and you need to tap into it as much as you can. So here goes the stepwise list. Number 1, what are your behavioral patterns in the morning? Number 2, and I'll give you an example using my own life and my own self as an example. But here's the list. What are your behavioral patterns? Number 1. Number 2, what outcome do you desire for your day in general? Right? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be calm? Do you want to be peaceful? Do you want to be meditative? Do you want to be joyful? Do you want to be pensive? Right? Determine your outcome. You want to be stress-free, right? Number three, what kind of acts, habits, or practices do you think would lead to your desired outcomes? And list these. Then step four, and I'll share these with you if you wish in this group after the session. Number four, make your ritual easy and practical to remember and perform. And you do that by linking them to already established patterns. Okay. And now, for example, and we'll take this stepwise. Okay. Step number one is, what are your behavioral patterns? What are my behavioral patterns? I wake up and I like to practice my intentions as soon as I wake up. I go to the bathroom, and it's such a system in me that within 5 minutes of my waking up, I need to go to the bathroom. After I have, what would I say, freshen myself up, I go to my kitchen and I have some warm water. I drink warm water. And for 45 minutes, I'm not supposed to have any other intake, so that this remedy has its desired effect. So 45 minutes later, I take my medicines, and I can't eat for 30 minutes after I've taken my medicines. And after those 30 minutes, I take my breakfast. So these are my behavioral patterns. Number two, what outcome do you desire for your day in general? I wish to practice gratitude. I wish to journal, because there's a lot to gain from journaling. Through journaling, as I recently learned, you get a lot of intuitive messages that we disregard in general. We very often disregard them. And when you're journaling, especially your morning notes or papers, or I don't remember the actual concept, but writing these morning notes actually allows you to free flow while writing and note on your intuitive messages. So I wish to be grateful. I wish to journal. I wish to give and start my day by giving. I wish to connect with my son and lift his spirits as well through conveying how much I value him and how much I love him. And then attend to my urgent messages. So these are the outcomes I desire for my day in general. I wish to have a good start, a grateful start to my day, so that throughout my day, I remember being grateful. Then acts, habits, practices would lead to your desired outcome, and list these. So the outcomes that would the practices, the habits that would lead to the outcomes I want would be reciting my intentions, writing in my gratitude journal as well, finding some way to donate, for example, a donation app, writing messages to my son early in the morning, so that as soon as he wakes up, that's one of the first things he reads, which usually isn't the case. Light my candles to enhance the atmosphere in my home, because I love candles, and they're fragrant candles, so I like the smells as well. And I love the atmosphere that's created when I have candles all over my house. Those who've been here know that well, and my mom's here and she knows that well as well. And I put on music, prayers or meditative music. I like to do some exercise. I like to do some meditation and practice my techniques, be in touch with my techniques, etc., etc., etc. Right. So the list for practices that lead to my outcome can be many, right? But then I have to pick the few which will most powerfully lead me to my outcome. So what ritual did I end up creating? So while I'm in bed, right, so I'm following my behavioral pattern. So you're going to see my behavioral pattern and how I have attached some or the other ritual to it, right? And it's always easy to remember your rituals when they're already connected to a previous pattern or a habit that's already established. So while in bed, I start by saying thank you. Thank you that I have woken up and that I have a new day ahead of me, a brand new day ahead of me. I say a short prayer. I'm a Sikh, so we have a short prayer called the Mool Mantra, which I practice as often as I can, and it's the first thing I do in the morning. And then I have my intentions, some of which I have picked from Dr. Wayne Dyer, some of which I have created on my own, but these then are, and I regularly notice that my life is tuned according to these intentions I've set. And it's most beautiful experience, most empowering experience, seeing that how these intentions bring certain experiences into my life, certain events into my life, because I've already ordered them from the universe every morning, right? At least every morning. Then I sit down and I lie down in bed and I write my morning notes when my eyes are barely opening, but I'll still write the morning notes. And I know barely 5 minutes and I have to go to the bathroom. So your bathroom is always, as I always tell my clients in all my workshops and everyone I know, your bathroom is your no disturbance zone. No one is going to bother you when you go to the bathroom. No one's going to ask you, what are you doing? How long are you going to be there? Because that's simply rude. So that allows you to practice your techniques and anchor yourself within. So in my bathroom where I am freshening myself up, I calmly start with my donations. I found a WHO, I think it's WHO app, and I daily donate to kids in 3 parts of the world, and sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what's needed out in the world. I think there was a crisis in Palestine recently, etc., and Syria as well. And I donated there, and I love starting my mornings by knowing that I have donated something. I've shared my blessings with children around the world, children who need it. It could be education, it could be food needed, right? And then I start with my gratitude journal, and I list everything I could be grateful for, and that sets the tone for my morning. And then I write messages to my son, loving and appreciating messages to my son. One message with 2 sentences. One, what I appreciate most about him. 2, what I find extremely positive about him. Then I go to my kitchen and I drink warm water. And while the water is heating up, I light the candles. I put on morning prayers or meditation music. And at that time, my son usually gets up and he's getting up to this atmosphere, right? So just imagine getting up to something so calm and so soothing. Imagine how that sets a tone for his day instead of rushing. And even in my childhood home, I'd always wake up because my dad and my mom would be up before hours, and they'd have put on prayers, right? So waking up to the prayers, not someone nagging you to get out of bed, right? So we were all so happy in the morning, so we'd have good talks, and I have awesome, as I've always said, I've always loved the mornings, and that has to be a partly a reason for that. And then after putting the prayers on, I'll go and drink my water. I'll start with my yoga breathing exercises. Then I practice some techniques to raise my vibration. And in our international workshop, we have been using Rampage of Appreciation. And I'm presently using that to raise my vibration because any visualization or anything you're going to do, the higher your vibration, the better the outcome. So I start with that, and then I visualize, and then I go into my meditation. And after my meditation, I sit down and I will write. And if you're interested, I'll give you the description of this technique. And it's called a Power in Me technique, where you're listing all the power in you, right? And you're listing it from a different perspective. So it's easier to note it down, and it's very empowering. It's very powerful, this exercise. And then I'll do my exercise while I'm listening to audiobooks or during my morning calls. And then I kind of wind up with my Surya Namaskar before I take my medicines. And this routine actually just takes about 45 minutes, right? And that's the time I need from having drunk my warm water to I can take my medicines. Then I take my medicines and I walk into my shower, and my showering process in itself takes about half an hour. And that's a ritual of its own. So I'll start off with during my entire shower and getting ready process, I will use intentions. I'll set intentions. I'll chant my intentions. I chant my declarations. I use switch words and I'll chant these. I use mantras, Sanskrit mantras, and I chant these. I use my Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian technique, and I use my dream image name. I have a separate video on my channel about the dream image name, and this is also very powerful. And using that in the morning, when I'm just taking my shower, it's so empowering. I find this so uplifting, and it anchors me in what my purpose in life is and what I wish to achieve with my life. And after that, while doing my hair or getting ready, changing my clothes, or putting my makeup on, anything, I'll put on some audiobooks or videos. So this is how I have planned and how I have concluded my morning ritual. This is how it looks, and this is how you can do it. So I encourage you highly to do this. Find your own, and if you have any questions, you can always share them here in this group or in the other groups where you already are present with me. So what questions do you all have, or what comments, any discussions? Let's open to that now. Any comments, any questions? Remember, guys, you power towers, this session is for you. So away, let the best you can.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Okay. For me, the morning time is usually busy. After I wake up, I usually prepare food for my son and things like that. So, is it like, should I wake up sometime half an hour or something before? Should I keep an alarm?
Yes, if I were you, I would do that, because if you have that half an hour before everyone else wakes up and before you need to answer to your obligations, right?
Yeah.
These are habits you cannot ignore, right? So wake up half an hour before, because that will be your me time. That's time you're giving yourself, completely giving yourself, and you're completely anchoring yourself. And you'll see, once you start doing that, your entire day will be completely different.
Okay.
So I'd advise you to get up early.
Okay, because usually I just get up, when I wake up or when my son wakes up. So if I keep an alarm and wake up, is it just normal, and will it be peaceful?
Yeah. Right. That will make you sleep early as well. And most importantly, you need enough sleep, because if your sleep is messed up, your whole day is going to mess up, and nothing is going to help you with that. So you need to get enough sleep, and those few moments, even if it's 15 minutes you get, at times, things are stressed at my end. Even if I compress this to 10 minutes, a lot of motivational speakers, listen to Tony Robbins, who was, I think, Joe Vitale, Bob Proctor, all of these motivational speakers, these Richard Branson, all of them recommend morning rituals.
Okay.
These are so powerful, and they don't need to take much time. Tony Robbins has something that goes that only takes 15 minutes, and when he's having a hectic day, he shortens it down to 5 minutes, but he does not remove it from his day.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so just use this list I shared and create a few, and you don't need to do much, because that's going to confuse you. That would demotivate you. So just start with a few activities.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Yes, super. Any other questions?
I'm starting my day with meditation.
Yeah, awesome.
And then cooking, tiffin
Yeah,
preparing.
yep.
It's up
And
to 8:30.
yeah, so you wake up early and meditate first,
4
and then
o'clock.
you go, yeah, and then you go into cooking, right?
Yeah.
So what else do you do between 4 and after you wake up and before you start your cooking?
First I get up fresh and take bath, do
Mm-hmm,
exercise, meditation, sadhana, chanting,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and gratitude.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Awesome.
again exercise,
Yeah,
and it's 6:30 till now.
yes,
After then I go
awesome.
to kitchen.
Yep, because we have the three aspects to the human, to our humanness, as I say. We have our soul, we have our mental health, and we have a physical body. And we need to attend to all three of these to lead a healthy life. And when you meditate, you're connecting with your soul, right? If you're chanting or you're practicing any techniques, you are stabilizing your mental health. And if you're doing any exercise, you're using your physical body. You're getting that started as well. So this is awesome. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Awesome, lovely. And any further questions or comments or discussions?
Hello.
Anyone else sharing their experience?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Alka.
Hi, lovely.
Uh, you said you will be writing two phrases for your son every
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how does he reacts to that? Uh,
This is a technique I learned in a book I'm presently reading called Gratitude Diaries. And I recommend this powerful book for all of you. It is a book written, I don't remember the author's name. Fine. Then we'll just sum up for today. And do share your morning routines and how your experiences are, because this is encouraging all of us, right? So you can do that in this group or in the workshops where we are gathered, or anywhere where you can share this with me, and I'd love to hear from you. So wherever you are, have an awesome day or awesome evening ahead, and I'll catch you in 2 weeks' time.